Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Fox News meteorologist Chris Higgins. Chris's Corner update for the early afternoon hours of February 14th. Happy Valentine's Day. Wave number one behaved pretty well with the forecast that we came out with late yesterday. Dusting to generally an inch, a few spots maybe a touch more over on the southern Illinois side of the river. But overall, it moved in, moved out, and we're pretty well done with it. Just some flurries and a little bit of sleet and snow grain activity mixed in for the next couple of hours. But things are starting to change as wave two emerges out of the central plain states, and that does have accumulating snow with it as well. Here's a look at the latest radar imagery, and we'll go ahead and put this in motion. And with the maps now in motion, you can see the first wave is now pushed off through central, now southern Illinois, heading into Indiana and northern Kentucky. The center of the upper level storm system, the upper level low, now skirting into northwestern Missouri. The 500 millibar and 700 millibar lows pretty much superimposed on each other right now. Vortmax is out here to the west, and as you'd expect, the bigger snows are between 1.5 and 2 degrees to the left of that track, and that's where we've got the snows. Pretty good snows in this band. Between Omaha and Des Moines, in many cases, visibilities of between 1/4 and 1/2 mile. Now, some of that has been because of the gusty, cold winds that are blowing in behind the system, but there's also some pretty decent snow rates being reported with this as well. Overall, the pattern here further east into the St. Louis area is one of very light snow flurries and a little bit of sleet mixed in right now as we've lost the seeding and the cloud or the snowflake making potential in the clouds because temperatures in the moisture bearing layer are not cold enough. But that's going to change here as the large scale forcing from the western system moves in. Already starting to see precipitation echoes blossom out here over central Missouri, and I expect this area along Interstate 70 and north to fill in and really pretty much connect to this whole band on the northeastern flank of the upper level low from Iowa into northeastern and east central Missouri over the next several hours. So heading into this afternoon, snow will begin to pick up in intensity. Here's a closer look at that trend as you look out to the west of St. Louis. This is a local Doppler radar out of St. Louis's Weather Service office in Weldon Spring. You can see the echoes are beginning to increase, and this definitely has the characteristic look of the that you would expect in the leading edge ahead of an upper level low. You kind of get these narrow bands, almost gravity waves type looking bands emanating from south to north. And that is going to increase, and you can see the echo mass generally expanding and the intensity expanding as well. So we'll be looking for an increase in snow from west to east in both coverage and intensity as we work our way into the mid-afternoon hours. And I think a steady light snow, light to moderate snow, is likely pretty much area-wide across much of the metro area at least by, say, 2 or 3 o'clock this afternoon. Key features on the midday surface chart. The surface low pressure that was associated with this morning's activity is now over southern Illinois. It's kind of going to go stationary as it awaits the main upper level push arriving from the west. In the meantime, there's kind of a cold front now to the west of this system. You see how we go from 31 in St. Louis down to 21 in Columbia. Arctic air is now wrapping in from the northwest, and as that colder air presses eastward into our moist air, we're getting that low to mid-level frontogenetic forcing, that squeezing of the air mass, and that is going to help on top of the large-scale lift ahead of the upper-level system to begin to break out that snow between St. Louis and Columbia and intensify that band steadily as we go through this afternoon. In addition, as you go further out to the west, temperatures drop to 23 in Kansas City, and then the winds come around and get very gusty to the northwest behind the upper level system. Winds gusting to 20 to 40 miles per hour. There was a 41 mile an hour wind gust just this last hour in Lincoln, where they're reporting a half mile to a quarter mile visibility in snow and blowing snow. And that is the area that's going to translate to the east and southeast down the Missouri River towards St. Louis later on this afternoon and early this evening. Looking at the 12Z, the morning model updates, fortunately they've come into much better agreement, and even better, they're very close to what we were forecasting over the last couple of days. The red X is the 500 millibar vorticity maximum forecast by all the models to track out in Nebraska to an area just west or northwest of Kansas City by midday today, then into west central or Missouri and the Missouri Ozarks by late this afternoon and early this evening, then pressing on to the south of St. Louis before heading into Kentucky by early tomorrow morning. At the same time, the gray, the middle gray here, L, is the 500 millibar low center. It's forecast to remain closed from north of Omaha into northwestern Missouri to just northwest of Columbia to right over or perhaps just north of downtown St. Louis and then east to the Wabash River. And more importantly, we're now looking at a closed circulation at 700 millibars, which was not a feature that we were holding on to very strongly before, but it does look like the 700 millibar low remains closed, which means this system is just a bit stronger, dropping down the Ohio or the Missouri River into northwestern Missouri. You'll see the two 500 and 700 millibar lows are still pretty much coincident until you get to central Missouri. Then they begin to break apart as the system intensifies a bit and pivots towards neutral and then negative tilt once it passes St. Louis. But generally speaking, you look for the heavier snow to fall under and to the left of the 700 millibar low track, or immediately under and immediately just to the left of the 500 millibar track. So when you superimpose all that together, you get a general idea of a stripe of more significant snows potentially from north central, northwestern Missouri, especially picking up near Columbia and stretching east along the Missouri River, east, southeast, along the Missouri River into the St. Louis Metro, and then east from there along I-64 and south of Interstate 70 in Illinois following that 500 millibar low track. That is not much different. In fact, it's very similar to what we've been forecasting all along. So what does this come down to? What I think is really going to happen as far as totals? Well, we've already seen a dusting to an inch of snow fall across the bi-state area with the morning snowfall in Wave 1. Here's what I think is going to bottom out with Wave 2 this afternoon into tonight. I think on the Missouri side of the river, basically the western third of my viewing area, the west, I'd say west of St. Louis County, an additional 2 to 3 inches with the Wave 2 coming in this afternoon and this evening. That 2 to 3 will be on top of anything that you got late last night and early this morning. As the system moves east, it will tap into a little bit better moisture supply and it will be somewhat stronger. So I think an additional 3 to 4 or possibly even an isolated 5-inch additional snowfall amount, especially over far southeastern Illinois, is in the cards for late this afternoon and overnight tonight. Or, more specifically, if we want to get in even closer, here's the way it breaks out for our viewing area. Total storm accumulation, including this morning and what's going to get added onto it, still looks like a solid 2 to 5 inch event. Montgomery, Gasconade County, stretching east and southeast along the Missouri River into the metro St. Louis area, including downtown St. Louis, a general 2 to 5 inch snowfall. And that should stretch eastward. Now, the Missouri side's probably going to be closer to 2 to 4. On the Illinois side, probably closer to 3, 4, even 5. On the Illinois side of the river for Metro East. I have included a 5 to 7 inch band outside of my viewing area, but over far southeastern Illinois, where the system will get better organized and there'll be better moisture supply. If you're listening to this up to the north in Greene County, up near Carrollton, Litchfield, Hillsborough in Illinois, you're going to be on the northern fringes of Wave 2, maybe an inch or two for you total, so you might have had an inch this morning, maybe another inch, inch and a half on top of that. Down to the south, you guys have already just had a mix, very little accumulation down there so far, but you might catch some of the wraparound with this, enough to give you a dusting to, on the high side, perhaps 2 inches. But 2 to 5 inches, a good solid bet still. That's my going forecast. We're going to stick with it along the Missouri River in Missouri and between basically I-70 and I-64 on the Illinois side of the river.